Hello guys, so I continue my style review series and today we're going to talk about Jacqueline Kennedy as a dramatic classic in Kibbe system. If you're new to my channel, I'm going to leave the link down below my Kibbe playlist. Even if you are not familiar with that, you can stay and watch till the end. We just are going to discuss her style and how it matches to her bone structure and her vibe in general. So she was really a style icon of the 60s and 70s, and yes, again, we're gonna talk about 60s and 70s today. She is, in David Kibbe's Metamorphosis book, a dramatic classic type. Their body is normally very symmetrical and pretty balanced looking. They don't look too tall or too small. They don't look too large, too angular, or too soft and too delicate. So everything is kind of slightly in the middle. However, they have some angularity and some broadness in their bone structure and in their face sometimes as a dramatic undercurrent. There's some additional drama in their overall classic appearance. This is why they're called dramatic classic. So she was born in 1929 and we can already see when she was a kid she was dressed more or less in dramatic classic lines. She was First Lady of the United States of America since 1961 to 1963. Let's first see some of the pictures of her in the 50s. We still have a little bit of the 50s. She did follow the trends of that 50s glam, 50s new look, very feminine, softly curled hair, very soft dresses with waist emphasis, sometimes new look dresses. However, she wasn't that lush. She wasn't showing that glam too much like Marilyn Monroe or Jen Russell, for example. She was still like a good wife kind of glam. Her makeup has always been very modest. She never had that over-the-top, extremely long lashes. She was very natural most of the time. Her lash line was defined, her lashes were defined, and she had pretty bushy and thick black brows, and she would not get rid of them. She would not pluck them too much. She had naturally pretty dark eyes, dark hair. Her lips were also pretty gentle, especially in those years. Sometimes she would add some more red to that. But she never would overdraw her lips, she would never add anything extra. And even if she was going after that 50s glam, she would not overdo with accessories, she would not overdo with jewelry. For her, it was like, do one less than one more. In the 50s, she was mostly wearing those short, symmetrical cardigans, which was very popular at that time. For casual look, she would go for a simple cotton short, straw hat, but in a very classy way. Very rarely that I could see her experimenting with some gypsy style, boho style, but that happened too. 50s cotton suits, very well tailored with belt, of course, as so many women at that time. And this is her wedding dress. Also, everything is very, very classic. And this is actually, as far as she felt her body very well, and at the same time she had that status and she had that beingness. And she had to go for a certain dress code all the time because she's being a first lady. So it had to be very high class, yet modest and not very shouting. And this description really matching to her bone structure and to her being a dramatic classic. So basically, the best style for her would be very classic, minimalistic, modest, very well tailored, well shaped, not over the top to any direction, not over the top huge and bulky, not over the top squeezed and short and small, not over the top geometric, not overloaded with all those patterns, and very presentable as a first lady. Now we have 60s. In the 60s, times changed and we have short trapeze dresses, and she did incorporate that in her look in the 60s. So what did she add from the 60s to her look? It was bigger hair, back combed hair. If in the 50s it was more or less like very well dressed hair, not super much volume, but in the 60s she started having a bigger volume and more straight hair, big huge kind of blowout hair, and light colored lips with pearl sheen sometimes. So that is those additions that she made in the 60s. She never would do those twiggy eyes on her. So the structure was always there at that decade. Suits, dresses, tops and the bottoms, pants, tops, or t-shirt and the pants, or shirt and pants, or shirt and skirt, or blazer and the skirt, or jacket and the skirt, All that had a very precise shape, was made with fabric that keeps its shape, is very well tailored. And the interesting thing is that she was experimenting with brighter colors too, which is great because it was always balanced with a very good quality material and thicker material. So, as you know, sometimes those super bright colors, very neon colors, pinks and yellows, oranges, sometimes it can look a bit cheap. But it depends a lot on what is the fabric and what is the quality of how it's tailored. Because it can look very cheap with a very cheap stretchy material that is just hanging on you, and sometimes, you know, they just do those sparkling stones on that. That does look cheap, but as far as her suits were very well tailored, were very well made with very good quality fabrics, so you could see that immediately, especially if it's a bright color. You can see the structure, the texture, you can see the lines, how it was made. You can see very well on bright colors, brighter, lighter colors. So they did look expensive even with those brighter colors, and especially she had pretty bright coloration. Her eyes would pop, her eyebrows, her hair, everything was dark with that light skin. So I would say in the 60s she had classic style, but with a little hint of the decade. Simple tops and pants, she would wear that as a casual outfit. Again, it was very good quality, well tailored. But this is something that we can now find in the shops. A leopard coat, trapeze shape. Of course, in my every style review video I show you something leopard. All of them were wearing something leopard. As an accessory, she would wear a headband pretty often, and sunglasses. Sunglasses normally have been in an oval shape and pretty rounded shape. She would wear fur coats sometimes, and coats which were well tailored, and they were different colors. She almost didn't have any patterns in the 60s. Sometimes it was checked, sometimes maybe stripes sometimes, or something like that. But most of her stuff was pretty plain. Very often she would wear gloves, very often she would wear hats. She would have pearls and different kinds of jewelry, earrings, but never over the top, one or two at a time. Her dresses was always well tailored, even when with more glamorous pattern. Still you can see that very modest shape, nothing else is hanging in there. She was having sharp classic shoes most of the time, and very structured classic bags. I never seen her with very weird shaped stuff, with experiments or with something too boho, too natural. So she would never go for frills or over accessorizing. Nothing too glamorous, nothing too stretchy, too printed, nothing too funny or weird. Now question, how 70s with this natural, unconstructed boho silhouettes and prints collapse with her structured, classic and modest vibe? And this is how. So first of all, in the 70s she added some accessories. She added more headscarves. She added bigger glasses with a gradient tint or just bigger sunglasses. She started having more interesting jewelry, not just that classic diamonds or pearls. She started experimenting with closer to the boho side, but she still would keep things very precise in shape and in silhouette. She would never mishmash things or add something that is not matching together. So she always had that structure of a look. Another thing that happened in the 70s, she started growing her hair. And then, you know, you grow her hair and you just comb them and you go. This is more 70s, more hippie. Probably in the 70s, as far as all these things started, it would be like too old-fashioned, I would say, if she would just hairspray her hair so that would freeze like that. And she was famous. She had to be trendy. She had to follow the trends. And also many people followed her style. What else did she add in the 70s? Boho belts. And sometimes she would wear those belts on top of longer tops. This is also a 70s thing. Or she started wearing that flared jeans or wider pants right there to the bottom. More elongated silhouette. So this is also 70s thing. And she also started experimenting with more unconstructed shapes of tops, skirts, dresses, and just her silhouette in general. And she would make her hair sleek, actually. That is another thing, that I didn't see her with sleek hair. And I think that was very, very beautiful on her. And actually, this is very dramatic classic for me. She would go for casual tee and pants, of course, as a casual look in the 70s. Frills, happened not very often, but happened several times in the 70s. It's very important, like what you choose and how you balance it, because you can go over the top with the patterns if they are in wild shapes and something very weird. And also fabric has to match too. And then she had that sweaters, cardigans, and knitted turtlenecks. And turtleneck is a basic thing. Turtleneck is timeless. Now 80s, very casual and relaxed mix and match. She started experimenting with that crazy 80s mix and match. Of course, she was trying not to go over the top. She would go for bomber, for example. That was very interesting for me to see her in a bomber. She would add some big padded shoulders, big sleeves, oversized top, big earrings or clips. Hair is more relaxed in the 80s, something that she didn't quite do before. And then all those very sparkly materials. In terms of her makeup, it has always stayed more or less same. In the 70s, she was experimenting with some lighter eyeshadow and paler lips. And on some women, that blue eyeshadow and that very pale coral colored lipstick, they can be very refreshing on them. But for some women with more angular, more strong and dramatic bone structure, that sometimes washes out their contrast completely, makes them very tiring looking. So they always need something slightly darker on their eyes, or at least just don't do this light blue eyeshadow. Just don't do this, you know, because that was still even slightly lighter than the skin, so it would make the eyes kind of slightly disappear from the face. So I think that was pretty tiring on her particularly. Alright, that's it. That's my viewpoint on her style as a dramatic classic, and hope you enjoyed it. And please let me know whose style review you want me to do next, because we are finishing all those basic 13 types that are particularly from that David Kibbe's book, which are more belong to old Hollywood or 20th century, like 60s, 70s, 50s, 40s, 30s. So I just wanted to learn from them, because without knowing that history, without seeing how and why they were called style icons, we can't understand modern fashion, I think, and we won't be able to really pick up the best outfits for ourselves. So I think it's very important to know that, but I'm very open to do style reviews for more modern celebrities, which would be probably very interesting. I would prefer to do something for someone who's an official David Kibbe's list. I'm gonna leave the link on the full Kibbe celebrities list, or you can also check in my Pinterest. I also have that board where I show you the pictures of all the types and all the celebrities that represent that style of his official list. So you can maybe pick up someone from there. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Subscribe on my Pinterest for 13 boards as an inspiration for the body types. Also, you can subscribe on my Instagram. All the links I'm gonna leave down below. Also, you can become my sponsor or subscribe on my Patreon for some exclusive videos, some early access to these videos, and just if you want to support me and my channel. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.